We love you guys. We love you guys. We love you guys. Thank you so much. This is the reboot. This is Ezekiel.
And I'm Sarah.
And we're here today for another episode of Marriage Matters Live.
Yes.
So if you were tuned into the stream for the last 60 seconds, you were in the behind the scenes segment when you saw Sarah's getting up, adjusting the background. What you didn't hear her say to me was, Zeke, the candles don't look right back there. So, you know,
like, things are out of place. Well,
so we had Sarah hitting it up. Thank you so much, all of you guys out there supporting us in the interwebs to let us know in the Marriage Matters family, the God Life family, that, you know, the audio wasn't popping. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's see, because we're still getting there. There's still no sound.
No. Listen, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear us, if you've got audio now, or just let us know. They can hear us. They can hear us.
Okay. Cool. Because I was just saying some really important stuff.
So, what we were saying is this stream today is super important.
It is.
Not just for those of you who are married couples, but also for our singletons and for those of you who are on your courting journey.
That's right.
Because
Tell them
in-laws are for life, not just for Christmas.
Hello.
This is a super important thing. I know, like, we see the puppy ads and they play the game, but this is real talk. So it's super important that we understand the reality of this in-laws dynamic. You were saying something. You were saying,
yes. I was saying that, you know, this is one of the topics that I have, the conversations that I have with a lot of women, married women that are not yet married. It just kind of comes up in conversation. And I was just saying that I find that it's an area that is kind of like overlooked, because a lot of the times, you know, you kind of get, you know, before you get married, you're like, okay, I don't really like my in-laws. Once I get married, I don't need to see them. They're not coming to my house. They're not, you know, they're not going to be around my kids, all that kind of stuff. Or it's also, okay, I can see my husband or my husband to be is not really telling my in-laws how it is. When we get married, things are going to change. He's going to tell them how things are.
Does it always go that way?
No.
See, we've spoken to you about these fairy tale marriages, fairy tale relationships that just, you know, it's just, they're the figment of our imaginations. Yeah. Stuff of dreams. And it's important that we get the realistic, that's why you're here.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's why you got to be here with us. Because let me just kick back in my seat. Let me just kind of get snug a little.
Let's just get related.
Right?
Because this is going to be interesting.
Because this is the real deal. This is why it's important for us to have these candid, open, honest conversations. Yeah. Because there are things that are a fallacy. And yes, you can maybe take your spouse, elope to another country and set things up there. But, you know, your in-laws will forever be your in-laws.
That's right.
Do you understand that?
Even when they've gone. Even when they've gone, they're still going to be remembered. They're still going to be celebrated. There's still going to be conversations that revolve around them. What did they say? What they used to say? What they taught? What they didn't teach? You know, things like that. So they're always going to have some kind of impact in your marriage and in the lives of your children. You know, so yeah, and that's why I really think, especially if you are watching this and you're not married yet, this is an area of importance. Believe me, it's an area that you need to get right early. And however, if you don't get it right early, doesn't mean that things can't change later on. Yeah. You know, that's kind of like my experience in a sense. So, but we'll get there later on.
So you've got to get comfortable. All right, so real talk. So look, question at the gate. How important are in-laws? If you're married, answer that question in the comments box. If you're not married, if you're not married, how important are in-laws? Like, let us know what your view of in-laws is. Is it really just about you and your spouse, or are in-laws a matter of fact? And let me kind of caveat this now. Let's quickly define in-laws. In-laws are any relationship that you have joined to you by marriage. Because some people just like, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, but it extends beyond that. We've got brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, do you understand? We have nieces and, you know, those kind of extended relationships that we are engaged in by marriage. So it's really important that we establish that.
That's right.
First thing I want to talk about out the gate. Now this is the one of the big the big ones, and it's like it's general, but you know it's the big one. It's like disagreements with in-laws around, you know, things like your wedding, the conduct of your marriage,
how you gonna raise your children.
It's like
where you're gonna live. How are you going to pay your bills?
How much liberty should in-laws really have? Now, at this point, we're really talking about father-in-law, mother-in-law, but then you do have some of those kind of older brothers, older sisters who want to kind of feed in, weigh in, give their advice, you know.
And some people don't have, whether maybe their mum's passed or their dad's passed, and you have the eldest, maybe uncle, who steps in as the father figure, the auntie who steps in as a mother figure, so that the spouse now takes that person on as their direct in-law kind of thing.
Like a parent kind of...
Exactly. So, yeah, in-laws is...
So how do we deal with that? How have you guys dealt with this situation in the past? Maybe some of you who were getting married and, marriage was a big deal for you guys, but then you start to see, the mother-in-law encroaching. I think it should be done like this. Maybe the bride and her mother are real close. Or maybe it's the situation where, the father is kind of trying to coach maybe his daughter or his son around about how to orchestrate, married life. And parents are a massive significance. They're a massive value. We've spoken about, I guess, our in-laws from time to time in the past, but parents play a massive role in terms of the shaping and the directing of children as they grow into young adults and adults as they move out in there. So what's your view? Like, do you really think that there's this massive need for the parents, even when we go into marriage, to continue to weigh in and train and teach, even though the couple has moved on?
Well, definitely, because, you don't just learn things automatically because you get a certificate saying that you are entitled to this particular thing. It's even just, let's just take driving, for instance. You pass your driving exam, but you're still driving with the knowledge that I've just passed. So I still have to be cautious. I still have to be careful. I can't just start leaning back, putting one hand and start turning the wheel with the finger, as some of you do when you drive, Or I don't need to mirror signal maneuver anymore. I passed my test yesterday. I've got this, And I feel like a lot of the times when it comes to marriage, because two people have been in a relationship, they're like, oh yeah, we know what we're doing. Yeah. Because we know what we're doing. Yeah. But then people on the outside still kind of want to go, yeah, we think you know what you're doing, but this is how it should go. Yeah. Kind of thing. And the way you operate doesn't look like something that's gonna make a successful marriage. So let's help you, kind of thing. So it just depends. For me, again, depends on who the in-laws are, how they are, their characters, their results. Because if your in-law is now on their third marriage, okay, and and that third marriage looks like it's even on the brink, it's hanging on a thin line, and they want to come and start giving you all the advice, it's just like, oh, okay, thank you. Don't have to be rude about it, but you would take their advice with a pinch of salt. But if you're being spoken to by people who have good experience, they've got knowledge, they've been together for a long time. And even sometimes with some people, the first marriage didn't work. Don't mean you write them off as, giving advice. They might be on another marriage and that marriage has been successful. They've been going for 20, 30 years. And, so it depends on who the advice is coming from. And then again, you also have in-laws who are single, have been single for a long time, and they want to tell you how your wedding should look, and they want to tell you, how to do certain things. And, oh, if it was me, I would send my children to this school when they turn this age. Well, get married and have kids first, isn't it? Kind of thing. I really feel like this particular conversation is one of those, I was talking to a friend the other day, and, she was telling me something, and it was so true. It's just like the person that was trying to advise her children didn't have children to be advising the children. Yeah. And it's kind of like, well, what are you doing? Yeah. And a lot of the times we find ourselves in that situations with family members who are telling you how to do things, or trying to, and even sometimes you get to a point where people are actually trying to run the marriage for you, but then again, a lot of relationships have ended up in divorce because of in-laws, and this is why I feel like this is such a massive topic, and it is definitely something for people to really consider and really think about, how in-laws are going to impact the relationship. Because as well, there's that support factor. Some people leave, travel from another country. That's right. They come here, they meet someone, all of their families in another part of the world, and they're literally not stuck, but they're with the spouse's family, who are, majority of them are here. Yeah. So it's kind of like you're outnumbered. Like, hello, you're outnumbered. So we run the show. You do what we say, kind of thing. And some people do find themselves in that position where they do feel like they are powerless. They're like a stranger in a sense, not that the family doesn't love her or love him, but it's still kind of like, you're outnumbered, bro, so we run the show here. And if you don't like it, then you know what to do. Do you get what I'm saying?
I think you tackle so many things there. I think, like, obviously vicarious living is something that we see all the time. You know, a parent, they weren't able to maybe go to university, they weren't able to start a business, they weren't able to do one thing or another, so they now want to see their child or their grandchild or the child, you know, their great grandchild live out their dream, basically. And I think this is one of those things where we need to really kind of manage with a pinch of salt. Sometimes a person had some bad experiences, they learned a lot from that, and they've got a lot to give, and that can actually be helpful in certain situations. However, if it's just that kind of desire to see the manifestation that they never fulfilled, so that, you know, they can experience it through that person, that's a problem. That's problematic. So I think we really need to evaluate where, like you're saying, where that counsel is coming from, the type of counsel that's being given, and, you know, is it really what's necessary for this marriage or for this child, or etc. etc. When we talk about the other thing there about, you know, just kind of the being outnumbered and those kind of things, I think this kind of maybe spills over into, well, we'll touch on it shortly, but I think, again, how much of a support network do you really need? Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, someone does fly over, like you said, and they engage with a family. The husband or the wife who already exists in the country on the ground with their family already have a structure in place. Yeah. And the question is, am I coming to marry into that structure, or are we, as the scripture says, leaving that house to build something of our own? And I think, you know what, this is where worldview comes into it. This is where worldview comes into it, and it's so important, because some people are like, you know what, I've worked with loads of people, heard loads of people that, you know, they've come abroad and it's just them. They're just here, no uncle, no aunt, no parents, no cousins, no nothing. It's just them. And that's a difficult space to be in. You know, you kind of, they're now trying to rebuild or build a network of friends, associates, and those that they can depend on. However, I think we really need to be mindful about the type of network we're building, because if your worldview is extremely different, if it's worlds apart from someone else, that in itself can cause a challenge and conflict. So I think we need to really manage that. And this is really about being mature. We said this so many times, that marriage is really about being mature, having a mature perspective, a mature mindset. And when you're going into marriage, you have to address those relationships, primarily the relationship between you and your wife, you and your husband, in a mature manner. And then you utilize that. We're talking about the solutions now, we'll come to those later, but then you have to utilize that maturity in your perspective of those who are, you know, the extra, well, the in-laws, let's say the in-laws. Go on, you want to say something?
I was going to say, I feel like another challenge that a lot of people have, and even this is something that people just don't generally come across, I don't know if you guys are going to agree with this, but, you know, when you're growing up, you're taught that your family is your closest allies. Your family, you never want to come out too far out of this circle.
You know, blood is thicker than water.
Blood is thicker than water. You know, parents are not teaching children, look, one day you're going to grow up and you're going to have to take your wife and leave and make your own decisions and build your own foundation, and don't come running to me when something goes wrong. You know, you have to, you know, men get told all the time, man up, but it's not like man up like that. It's more like, why are you crying for? Oh, so what? Get on with it. But when it comes to them and their family, it's like, where are you going? What do you mean? You can't leave us. We're family. Yeah. You want to move out of the borough? That's a bit far, mate. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it throws people off when a couple decide that, look, we are actually going to leave and cleave. You know, a lot of people, families become sort of disorientated. Like, what are you guys doing? We were here for your wedding. We supported you through this. We supported you through that. We helped you with a deposit. You know, we helped you when you were graduating. You owe us something. You can't just leave. Yeah. You know, so that is in the minds of family. That is in the minds of people. So when people get married, even, it's like, I can't leave them. Like, they've done everything for me. Yeah. Now I'm married. I'm gonna look so selfish. I can't go. Like, oh, tell my mum I'm moving to Spain. She's got no one here. Like, no, that's out of the question. Yeah. You know, people feel like they owe their family so much. I'm not saying that they don't. Yeah. But when it comes to the marriage, they're not distinguishing the difference between, I'm here for you, I love you, I'm here whenever you need me, I'm a phone call away, I'm not abandoning you, as opposed to, oh, you know, I'm married now. bye mum, I'm never seeing you again. And parents are anxious, siblings are anxious. You grow up with your brother and your sisters all your life, then they get married and it's just like you don't see them anymore. Or you know, it's we only see you at Christmas for some people, or we only see you at a birthday. Like we used to see each other all the time. We used to do things. So even people's lives become a little bit distorted when someone does get married and leave.
Yeah.
You know, so there are all these factors that do play into it. That's why I feel like it is one of those things where people, it's like they don't want to preach that message. Yeah. You know, because they feel like they're going to lose out if they do deliver that message to their children. Yeah. You know, so yeah, I wanted to, I just want to share that.
Come on, guys. So listen, look, if you're feeling this content here, I need you guys to hit the subscribe button, ring that bell so you get the notifications when we drop new videos on this channel. Look, the algorithm needs it. It needs it.
Yes,
all right, so look.
And share it as well. If you feel like, you know what, I really feel this message is going to bless someone, or I actually want someone to jump in on this conversation, because we were having this conversation like the other day or a week ago. Share it with them, share them the link, and, you know, let's see if they join in. Yeah.
Right, so listen, Sarah has raised some super important points here today, and I want it to be known that we're not saying tear away from your family. That's not the point that she's making here at all. But what's key is that we understand what it means to establish your marital abode, your marital home. Like when a man says, I'm going to take a woman, I'm going to marry her, essentially what he's saying is, I'm ready to establish my name in this house. It doesn't mean that, you know, you cannot disengage yourself from your family line. You know, the blood runs through you. You know, that name, you can change your name as many times as you want, but people know that you can't change your look, your face, even though today people be doing all that kind of surgery and all those kind of bits and pieces, but they know who you are. It's in you. It's imprinted. Let me go deeper. It's part of your DNA. Yeah. All right? God's made it so that we know the line that you've come through. When you go through the scriptures, you see the names and the lines are important, and we need to value that as well. What this is really about is how to accommodate you establishing something of your own, and also being accommodating to those who you've come from and who you've worked with. Yeah. So look, wherever you guys are watching from today, come on, I need you to add that into the comments. Let us know that you're there. Say hello, say hi. You got a question, put it out so we know what's popping off. So when you were talking, it reminded me of something that my brother Samuel said years and years and years ago. We were at Bible study, and I've heard loads of these, you know, well-paid, what do you call it? Motivational speakers say today. And he made a point that there's two, I'll kind of wrap them up together, but one of the points he made was, you know, your best friend at school isn't necessarily, you know, when you're at school, this is my best friend. Your best friend from school is not necessarily your best friend for life. I know for some of us they are, but you know, and it's one of those things. It's like,
got my girls.
The point he was making, the first point he was making is that, you know, like when someone grows and develops, you know, their preferences grow and develop, you know, their likes and dislikes grow and develops, you know, so you form new relationships. And we're not saying drop the old and tack onto the new, but where you're going, the direction you're heading in really determines the neighbors that you have on the way. You know, you get on a bus or a train or a plane, you're going to a specific destination. Other people on the way to that destination will also be within that mode of transport. And it gives opportunities for you guys to discuss, to build bonds, make friendships and relationships. You're going to medical school, you're going to meet other people in medical school, and you're going to talk, you're going to relate, etc., etc. He made a subsequent point. I don't think it was at that same time, but it was at a different time, and it's really about the fact that, you know, when one of your young friends at school, or anyone for that matter within your community, sees you begin to change, the challenge is they begin to feel like something within their life is missing. It's out of place. And because of that, what happens is they begin to resist your change. And we have to acknowledge this. I heard someone said to me just recently, you know, like, change is bad. Change is bad. And I kind of heard what they said and acknowledge it and just kind of put that in a drawer and said, okay, cool, this is their worldview. This is their view of life. They don't want any change. And a wise man once said to me, years ago, he said, the evidence of growth is change. Yeah. You know, when a baby goes from crawling to walking, we don't pray that we don't see the change. We want to see that change. We want to see them go from crawling to walking, and then from walking to running. Although I hear they run before they walk, but so there are these things here that we want to see, this change that's necessary. And I think it's important for us as couples, and this is something that, especially if in a scenario where if you're the very first of a family to get married,
Yeah.
or you're the youngest of a family to get married, it can be a bit of an issue at certain times because
especially the youngest.
Because it really imprints, it leaves a lasting imprint on the family dynamic. Do you understand? It's like, oh, that young person is now marrying, or the only son or the only daughter is getting married, or you know, somebody's favorite. I shouldn't say that, but you know how it goes. Like if someone specifically is getting married, it becomes a point, it becomes a thing. So I think it's super important for us to acknowledge that situation.
Sorry,
you want to read something?
No.
Sis wants to say something. Okay, are they saying that?
No,
we're good. Don't worry. Okay, yeah, we just have to work with it. I think the boys are upstairs.
Okay.
Drawing on our internet. So yeah, so I think these are really, really important factors that we need to evaluate. We need to acknowledge that change, when it comes in, can be uncomfortable for certain people. Certain people don't deal with change well, and that's why we get to see these upsets, these arguments. Like, this is why people want to be they want to over-invest, you know. So if someone's getting married, I think you should do it this way. I think you should do it at this location, this day, this time, this place. And we know how much tension that can incite, because these, especially weddings and marriages alone, especially fresh marriages, new marriages, they're a melting pot for pressure. Yeah. You understand? New things are happening. Two people are coming together, especially when it's been done, you know, in a particular way, and everything is fresh. It's a real challenge. It can be a real challenge for people. Sorry, you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say, on the point that you made about the youngest, I was thinking about the eldest. Like, some people have the eldest child married, and that the eldest sibling has kind of always been the support of the family. They're the ones that always, you know, in some families, you do have the older ones that are very responsible. They've always been there, you know, supporting everyone. Any situation, they're your go-to. Yeah. Now, that person's getting married. It's just like, sorry, where are you going? It's a shock to the system.
Absolutely.
It's a shock to the mum.
Absolutely.
It's a shock to the dad. It's a shock to everybody else.
Yeah.
As much as they're happy for this child, they want to see this child, you know, but it's that attachment. It's the attachment. It's the whole thing of, okay, I'm giving you away, but I'm not fully giving you away. I'm still holding on to you because I need you. I need you in this situation. I need you. You know, are you going to stop doing what you were doing for us before? Yeah. You know, and again, you know, as we're talking, I'm thinking to myself, like, when people enter into relationships, it's important to begin to pick up signs of what your in-laws are like. You know, you can't just be carrying and laughing with them, thinking, oh, everything's okay. Oh, you know, that's why. You have to begin to look, what is the mum's relationship with her son?
That's right.
How much have they invested into this child? Because if they've invested, they're looking to reap a reward. You know, how do they deal with family situations? Do they argue a lot? Are the parents very argumentative?
Yeah.
Have they told him what college to go to? Did they tell him what course to pick? Did they tell him what university to go? Did they tell him what to wear for his prom? Like, stuff like that. And this is why we're constantly talking to the person that you're about to embark on this journey with, and really finding out about their family dynamic.
Come on.
Okay? You can't just walk in, put a pair of glasses on and go, see no evil, hear no evil kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, don't worry, once I marry him, all that is going to be, you know, gone away with.
Yeah, and I think that's foundational, man.
That's a massive facade, you know. So it's important for people to even people that are married now, and you're having, you know, troubles with the in-laws and things have just not settled. It's important to take them in and begin to see, where have you gone wrong with the in-laws? What did you not notice? What mannerisms did you have that they're constantly battling you on? What are you doing? And there are cultural differences which we haven't even yet addressed.
Tear open.
You know, so you have people that come from two completely different cultures. You know, a lot of times people think Africans are Africans.
Yeah.
All Africans are the same.
No way. Some Africans don't like other Africans.
Exactly. So a lot of times people just think, oh, Africans are Africans. You know, why would Yorubas be fighting Igbos? You're all from the same place, literally like 4 hours apart. Why are you sort of having beef? You know, but these are the realities of life that a lot of people want to overlook. And it's not a matter of just overlooking it. You know, and sometimes I do feel like, you know, spouses individually, you know, don't also have a massive part to play, because as much as in-laws, you know, are there and they can be difficult, we can be difficult too. People can open it up for me. As in, people can choose to be stubborn. You know, they can see that the mother-in-law is from this particular culture and they do things certain way. Well, I'm not from your culture, honey, so I'm not doing it that way.
So you're saying that. So you're saying a man may be awkward, difficult with his mother-in-law.
Yes.
A daughter may be difficult with her mother-in-law, and vice versa.
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
so it's not
got
always just the in-laws that are difficult. Like in the marriage and the relationship that's coming together, individuals can be difficult too.
But that's not you guys, right? Because you guys say with Marriage Matters, you're those mature folk who's constantly looking for peace and to implement wisdom in your relationship,
that's
right?
Right. But then again, and you do have, and then we've spoken about people being stubborn and not having a humble spirit, and if you've got an in-law or in-laws who are quite stubborn naturally, just the way they are, there are people in this world that are just outright stubborn. They don't listen to anyone, they don't listen to anything, and then
pray for them.
And you have different family members that are the same way, and sometimes it can be a thing of where, well, if you're not listening to me, I'm not listening to you. If you're talking to me like that, I'm talking to you like that, kind of thing. And so for me, it also boils down to how the couple are willing to adjust around these new people in their lives. Sometimes, especially with boys and their mothers, it's kind of like, why are you always giving in to your mum? Like she's the mum, you're the child. Like, why are you always just giving in, kind of thing? You spoil your mum too much. Like, oh, she's everything she wants, like, you just do it, kind of thing. But that's their relationship, that's their dynamic. Instead of kind of like fighting that and trying to make your husband dislike his mom or whatever it may be, you have to now find ways to work around that.
Come on.
You have to find ways to minister to your husband, not argue with him in that area. You have to be able to bring certain things to light to him, and whether it's he might have never seen it as manipulation, but if it is manipulation, you have to highlight that to him, that, hon, this is manipulation. You've been manipulated all your life, you just didn't know it.
So listen. So it says, we need some sounds. We need some sound effects. So obviously,
I'm just saying. I'm just giving examples. I'm not saying.
No, it's rich. It's rich and it's raw. And I think, look, we need to tackle this because Sarah's talking about some real stuff here, and we need to understand that there's a let me ask a question first. I'm going to say it, but I want to ask a question first.
Be ready to answer.
So how much of a responsibility is it on the couple to ensure that the relationship with the in-laws work? How much of a responsibility? And I'll put it to you like this. There's a couple, and they are both from Africa, but they come from different parts of Africa. And their cultures are different.
Yeah.
So it's important for me to tell you, this is my culture, this is how we do things. So we may be born in this location, but this is what's expected in our house, and I expect it to be the same vice versa. And there's because we're here in the UK, we are here in the UK. Some of you might be watching this from a little bit further afield, but the reality is there are some of cultures. Our families who have come over from Africa, and they have brought along with them their traditions, their mannerisms, their ways, their culture, and it is an intrinsic part of their day-to-day activities. However, there are others who have come over and they have fully embraced the nature and the way of the UK, and you can see it in the way that they live. But if the couple doesn't negotiate, if they don't talk, my dad's this way, my mum's this way, my older sister, you've got to watch out for her because she really demands respect. And if you don't come at her with respect, then she will take a poor view of you. I think those kind of heads up are super important for us to be sharing with each other at these early stages. No?
Yeah, no, babes, I completely agree with you.
Because I think that outside of those things, then we're leaving our spouse to the fire. We're putting our spouse in the fire and say, okay, you know what, you go for it, and just let me know how you get on over there. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that again is a risk. So early stages in the relationship, for those of you who are courting, I said I'll talk to you guys as well, like you're courting, you're evaluating relationships, you're evaluating people. Sarah said it already. This is where we talk about those hard questions. Like, so who do you fight with the most out of your siblings?
100%. There's nothing wrong with asking that question.
You're out of your mum and your dad. Like, who do you get on with the best? What is it you like about your dad? What is it that, what would you say is your mum's, maybe not worst trait, but what is it you dislike the most about your mum or whatever?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Or what has caused the most contention between you and your mum over the last few years? I think these are important questions for us to evaluate, especially for those of you who are in that courting phase, to get a real picture and understanding. You know why? What tends to happen is couples, like the individual couples, they want to shield their spouse or would-be spouse from those things.
Yes.
They want to present their family like, we are golden, we are perfect, we don't beef. And listen, it is a shock to the system, an electric shock to the system. When that spouse, they're married, they get in and they're like, whoa, it's just like, so this is what I'm married into. This is what it's really like in here. And you do a number of things by engaging that way. You build your friendship. You embolden your relationship and your communication skills by having those hard discussions all the way through your journey. You're building up a better picture of each other's families, and you're reinforcing the strength that should exist within the two of you. This is super important stuff, man. And like these are things, some of which we didn't have when we started out. So, we have to evaluate. We spoke a lot about a lot of things and about, I guess, our family dynamic, but there were things that maybe we didn't get, we didn't have, we didn't know, and those things can cause tension later on as you're beginning to experience things firsthand, because it's like, whoa, is this really what's good? Is this really how good things are over here? And it can be a pressure. So those things are important.
And another thing I was going to say is that some people haven't even made it to the altar because they're in-laws, and because they've given up. Listen. The person who wanted to marry that person has given up because they're just like, I cannot take your family.
You see, that's real. Account after account after account after account after account, we hear this stuff, and it's not a joke.
And if you know that the Lord has called you to this person, okay, I mean, some people don't start off having the best relationships with their in-laws, all right? Their best relationships with in-laws. I mean, take myself, for example. When Zeke and I kind of started out, obviously we were very young, so parents were not trying to condone it anyway. Do you get what I'm saying? So it was kind of like, my mum was kind of like, okay, let me see him, as long as you're cool, then yeah. But I had brothers who were always like kind of on the watch, and friends who were kind of on the watch.
Yeah, I think I said we'll have a stream about that another time. Yeah.
Kind of thing.
We'll talk about me and Sarah's brother.
Yeah, so, but on Ezekiel's side, Ezekiel comes from quite a, parents who were still quite traditional, things are supposed to be done a certain way. You're supposed to get into relationships at a later stage. You're a bit too young for this. You don't even know what life is, boy.
A bit too young.
Kind of thing. So, for me at first, it was kind of a struggle getting to even have a decent relationship with my in-laws at first. Your mum, obviously, she was absolutely great and stuff like that. But it took a while. It took a while for, myself and Ezekiel's dad to get to that place. But I tell you what, today, he's one of my best friends. Like, hands down, he's one of my best friends. And I can tell him anything. I can have a conversation with him that is always such a blessing, And the reason why I say that is because some people just don't endure. Some people just don't endure.
Yeah, that's real.
The endurance, and this is the thing. It's like you have to be praying at the same time. You have to have some kind of backing for yourself.
Need that covering.
You can't just think that things are going to change. And a lot of the times the miracle happens behind closed doors. You're on your knees praying for your in-laws. You're asking God to, work in their life and work in your life and bring you guys close together and change things and change the environment. Even if he sends someone else to intervene, that person can now bring that peace that the relationship has needed, But again, a lot of people just think things are going to happen automatically. And if things are not happening, I'm jumping shit.
I think that's the biggest fallacy in life. Like if you think in any time in life, you think, this will just happen by itself. This will happen auto-magically. I will do nothing and it will just appear. That's a problem. That's not the way God instantiated stuff to operate. It doesn't work that way. So says this, like, this is some gold, and I hope you guys are taking note. It's very important for you to be willing to stay the course. It's very willing for you to be praying in the background. It's very important for you to be willing to go through a little bit of the rough to see what's on the other side. That's right. I think these are things that really are telling of the person you're dealing with early on, because someone says to you, in sickness and health, in death to us part, to death to us part. Yeah. But some people don't mean that, and you know that because of the divorce rates that we see today. Yeah. The divorce rates are evidence that people don't truly, genuinely, really have that stickability. But you can evaluate some of that on the journey of courting. Yeah, it's like, I guess I was a big part to play in terms of Sayers being late to meet my dad and just not really breaking ground in that area. And it's because of the view I had. Like, we come from, like she said, there's like a rigid structure that we've got. And based on that, it's like I was breaking the mold, basically. And in breaking that mold, it's like, it feels very uncomfortable. And obviously mine felt uncomfortable because I was doing like the wrong thing, basically. But trying to crush ground, break ground too early, challenging the status quo. Yet, I'm grateful. She was consistent. We were consistent. The prayer was consistent in the environment. And like she said, it's like, she probably talks to my dad more than I do. I'll be like, it's just that real. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's just where we are at the moment. But I give God praise because there is value in being willing to pass through what may appear to be a challenging in-law. I'd say, really, I was the blocker. If I was maybe trying to make that connection early, and it was a difficult, challenging situation, and maybe we would have covered ground earlier. But obviously, my delay caused the delay to go on. So, and I think this is really important because some people, like you say, aren't willing to stay, aren't willing to stick, aren't willing to really consider. And just because there's a disagreement, just because the worldviews clash. Yeah. And we've said this before, you know, when you're coming together, two people, it's me and Sarah, for example. She's got her parents, I've got my parents. When you've got blended families, it's not just two parents. There's more than two parents coming in. And then you go beyond that and you've got grandparents. You've got like 7 people on one side, 7 people on another side, all coming together in 2 people to make decisions, and this can be real challenging stuff. So we need to evaluate early on what we're dealing with. Am I really willing to stay the course? Yeah,
and there's obviously another issue that is normally at play here, and it's the status issue, right? When you've got someone from a high class family, and they just happen to be led to marry somebody who is from a different class, and the family are we're supposed to marry our kind.
Yeah, they're protective. It's just, and it's like, we call it pride, we call it whatever it is, but they are protective over the status, the class. Yeah, that's right.
And generally in that situation, you know, people are like, well, I can understand if she or he they don't want to stay, if they don't want to endure that, they're going to find someone else who's middle class and live a peaceful life, you know, because the other middle class family is going to appreciate the fact that she's got a 40k job and it's not a 100k a year job. Do you get what I mean? And you know, they're going to appreciate that they drive a Prius and not a, I don't know, Range Rover, whatever it may be, you know. And people have all of these things that come into play when when they're getting into relationships, and that's why it's important to ensure that you're praying from now. For those of you who are not married, it's important that you're praying from now for God to send you the right person, because if that person is for you and has been ordained for you, nothing's gonna stop that, you know, especially if both of you are able to put yourselves under the leadership of God and pray and all that kind of stuff, and really devote your relationship, devote the marriage to be to God, and say, Lord, you know what, this is yours, take control, kind of thing, you know. But then again, a lot of people are trying to deal with this situation on the physical. Sometimes it's not physical. It's this situation is not even supposed to be dealt with on a physical level. Yeah, you know. Go on. But people try to, you know, maybe pay their in-laws off and buy their in-law gifts and, you know, act like they love them, but they really don't. Yeah. Deep down, they don't like them. Deep down, it's all just pretense. Instead of, you know, getting to the place where they're saying, okay, how can I deal with this situation from the inside out, you know? And because at the end of the day, when we're dealing from things on the outward, from the outside, it's going to show at one point, you know, it's going to show, you know. a brother can smile at his in-law to be all he wants, but if inside he's like, you will never marry my sister. I'm gonna play this game with you, bro. Even on your wedding day, we'll see what happens. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's like that's what that person's thinking on the inside, and that's where it's so much more important, dealing with that on the inside of the person. And that's why I say you have to be vigilant when you are around your in-laws. You have to really begin to see how are they interacting, what are they saying, the type of things, because you know we can't just turn a blind eye to difficult in-laws. It's just something that you just can't do, because in the long run it's gonna be either two things: the couple are gonna separate and go their separate ways, or they're gonna separate from the family and go their separate ways. You know, when things are not dealt with, it's not normally the middle ground where people meet. It's always on the extreme. You know, either the extreme happens on either end, you know, as opposed to, oh yeah, we're just going to pretend and smile that we like each other and just pretend to all be happy. Some people just can't do it.
I think there is this view that in-law beef is a different kind of beef from other beef. It's like, people are like, and maybe it's because people acknowledge that, well, I can walk away from like a street beef or something else, but I can't walk away from an in-law beef. But you know, like, challenges happen.
Yeah.
Confrontation happens. You know, like, it's important for us to understand that these things are a part of life. Do you understand that? It's like, we will constantly engage in debates, disputes for the rest of life. For like, at one point in time, you'd be down the supermarket, you'd be purchasing something, you're buying a new car, you're buying a house. Like, disputes come, they're a part of life. And it's important for us to really kind of just put disputes in a bucket and don't make it like a personal thing. And I know some people do take it personal. You're like, how can you say not take it personal when they're making it a personal thing? But I think when we acknowledge it, you know, people have character flaws. People have character issues. This is just the way people are. And we begin to address situations in that manner. It helps us to take the drama less personally and to deal with it in a more emotionally intelligent manner. I think it's dangerous when it's just like, yeah, you know, this brother-in-law, he just hates my guts. I just can't get past him. I don't know what the situation is. I don't know what the drama is. And I think the reality is, if we just are willing to address it up front, have a conversation, like commit to a journey of talking things through, working things out.
Yeah.
And sometimes you've got to be the bigger person. That's what it really is. It's like, you've got to be the bigger person and set that tone for, you know, peace or for joy. It's like, you really need to decide. It's like, do you really want power or do you want peace? And I think this is really key. It's like, in a relationship, there's not much like in your house, in your bedroom, in your kitchen, like your in-laws can really do if a husband and wife have a solid foundation that's based on God. So I think it's really about, as Sarah's saying, working from the inside out. But I'm talking about the way that you view these things. Don't see it as a special kind of beef, a special kind of drama, a special kind of disrespect. It's not that. It's just bog standard stuff. People have these issues, these situations, and we have to deal with it just like we would anything else. Yes, these things are closer to home. Yes, these things may last a little longer because you can't just, you know, walk out of the supermarket and end the drama there. Yet, it's key for us to acknowledge that these things are a part of life and we can get through them.
Yeah. And as well, you know, when you're entering into a relationship, you know, with somebody, you have to remember that everyone has had a certain type of life and lifestyle.
Yeah.
And everyone has been raised differently, and there have been challenges in the families, and there have been disputes, and there have been dislikes, and there have been hate comments. And there's history. Thank you.
There's history.
There's a history. You know, this history didn't start from when the two of you met. So anything that is happening now, it's not even you, the outsider. It's not even really about the outsider.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, people, like, let's just say a mother and daughter don't get on. But this daughter's about to get married.
Yeah.
That mother could choose to be difficult just because she's always been difficult with her daughter.
Yeah.
You know, and no matter what the daughter does, it doesn't please her.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter who the daughter marries, she won't be pleased.
Yeah.
You know, unless it's the person that the mum says, oh look, I found Thomas from the supermarket and I think he's absolutely great.
Yeah.
You know, he's always helped me out so nice. He's such a lovely boy.
Yeah.
Why don't you marry Thomas instead? Whatever it may be. You know, sometimes if it's not their preference, anything that child does is unsuitable.
Yeah.
Is unworthy.
That's
powerful. Is unacceptable. So you've got this girl coming in, you've got this guy coming in. It's kind of like, what have I done?
Yeah.
Honey, it's not you, it's us.
Yeah.
And so once the other person knows that and understands that, they can then, they can then decide on how they're now going to move forward with that in-law. Because it's just like, okay, I know nothing my wife does is going to please you.
Yeah.
Let her have triplets, let her have quadruplets, let her have twins, let her have 4 boys, 2 girls, what you've always wanted. It's not going to please you. So that husband now has to stand in a position of support for that woman. Stand, like, literally, because it's like, you know this. You know that the relationship between the brother and the sister, they haven't spoken in years. But then they're getting married, and things are happening, and it could still be that brother is just not going to like his sister's choice because he didn't like the college his sister went to. He didn't like the course that she picked. She should have followed after his footsteps and done this. It could be whatever. It could be whatever. People will always find a reason to keep up their hatred sometimes. They'll always look for an excuse to push forward their dislikes.
So dramas we see in a relationship are essentially extensions or a multiplication of what's already existed.
Already existed, especially when it comes to in-laws, because you're new coming into this scenario. You haven't caused this scenario. It's nothing that's happening here is your fault. Obviously if they've
you've done some rules.
Right. Obviously if they've been together before, and this is why long-term dating as well isn't very beneficial, because if 2 people have been dating for dating for like 3 or 4 years, mum already knows you're like this, you're like that. The brother already knows you're always like whatever it may be. He already you've done things for them not to like you.
Yeah. Got you.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
But when you're coming in as a newcomer and literally, it's like they've seen you, you've courted. It's what do they have to really
against you?
Do you get what I'm saying? So most of the issues are probably pre-existing. Most of these attitudes are pre-existing attitudes. Do you understand? So this is why my result is to pray. You have to start praying for these people, because maybe they've never been prayed for before. Maybe they've never been shown that kind of love from, an outsider before.
Yeah.
If it's a very argumentative family and they end up arguing and people just argue back, and then they end up getting in fights and stuff, and then they meet someone who's just like, oh, auntie, okay, I'll consider what you're saying actually. Sorry, you're going to consider what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No one considers what I'm saying. Everyone in this family just throws whatever I say to the curb. You're going to consider what I'm saying? Oh, wow. So it's just kind of like, for me, it's one of those things where people have to evaluate their environment.
So are you, like, on that yet? It sounds like the end you're saying that it's important to build your own relationships with 100%. Your in-laws. Yeah.
100%. Because take me, for instance, me and my father-in-law, our relationship's not built from you. It's built from what we've developed, what we've created, the effort that both of us have put into this relationship. Do you get what I'm saying? So, if God forbid, which has never happened, if you and Dad are not on good terms, me and Dad are great. Like, that's you, homeboy. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's like, but obviously I will now be like, I'll come and I say, but the relationships that you have with your in-laws shouldn't just go down because your in-laws, your husband or your wife isn't talking to her mum. Now you're not talking to the mum, or the mum's not talking to you. Yeah. You should be able to get to a place with your in-laws where if things are going wrong between the 2 of them, you can be the one to pick up the phone and say, Mum, what's going on with you and so and so? You understand? Yeah. He's very unhappy about this situation. He's unhappy. What about me? Oh, Mum, I know. Do you get what I'm saying? And be that mediator. Do you get what I'm trying to say? But that's just what I think.
Good points. I think 2 things. Common ground is important. Some things, I think with one of Sarah's brothers, the one I was closest with, I'd say, like, we were the closest. We've been the closest, I should say. We had common ground. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think common ground, finding those things that maybe we liked together, that we could do together, was an opportunity for us to develop our relationship. So that was key. And that's what caused us to spend good time together. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's one thing. But I think next to that, really understanding personality types is so important. It is. So firstly, and you've got to be super honest. Like, some people say, I'm the most humble person on the planet.
Yeah, okay.
There's nobody more humble than me.
And I
think it's key to understand that it's like, you've got to know yourself. You've really got to know the type of character you are. But then, and you can only do this with the help of your spouse, understand and evaluate the type of characters of your in-laws. Yeah. Because I'm thinking about one of my brothers, and he's very much He's very cool. I mentioned him before. He's very cool. He's very chilled. And you know, for you to ask him to start phoning his in-laws and be like, okay, like he's like, I can't see him really doing that. However, I'd say that he's more than willing. He would be more than willing to kind of ensure that there is a positive, peaceful relationship that exists there through one way or another. So understanding your own personality type, your own character, and then understanding the character type of your in-laws through the help of your spouse is super important, so you can realize how to navigate. I think that's really, really key. I think we're gonna go to the comments really shortly. So I think what I wanted to say really is like two other things just really to tackle that. You know, children are involved, and this is like even if this is before the marriage, you're looking forward. You have to understand that if there's a desire to have children, if like God willing children come, this is something that you need to factor in. Children are involved, and you know where there's tension, there's unrest, there's problems between the couple, anyone, a member of the couple and their in-laws, this can filter down to the children. Like this, I can really go off on this, but you're telling the children this is how a relationship should be. This type of beef we should have. You're also saying to the children that, you know, like you're sending all kind of messages. So as not to go into it deeply, you're sending all kind of messages. So that's one thing to think on. The other thing to really consider is that, you know, we spoke about the unit is kind of an extension, and you stand as an independent house, really. Yet you are a derivative of the house in some sense, even if it's just organically and naturally. Like you can say, like our social customs are different, our financial customs are different. Like everything could be different, but organically, even if we look on a natural level, you know, the wife and the husband, you both came from the parents that you have, right? And it's important to understand that, you know, there is this view of winning and losing that really goes on. Like, so when we were coming up, one thing I noticed about Sarah's families, they were super keen, and I'd seen and heard this view before, but they're super keen on the cousins, like, so the children, their children, all being familiar with each other and building bonds and relationships, and like it's a very key thing. The thing that we need to acknowledge is that, you know, as we progress forward, though that group of young ones, if they're all motivated with the same kind of acumen, like I said, myself and Sarah's brother found things that we were familiar with. If we were really good at those things and we could really develop in those things, there's a win, a general win, a consensus, a global win, let's call it that. So if the children see this thing, there can be a collective win. But however, if the children see this and they realize that, you know what, this is a bad thing, and they acknowledge it as a bad thing, there's this global like failure. And we need, I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make is that we need to be super clear in that if there is a fallout between in-laws and
it affects the children.
Yes, and it ripples on.
You
know what I'm saying? It's like, we know how. We spoke about dysfunctional relationships, and you know, we speak about toxic relationships. You know, like, so there are husbands that can have toxic behavior, wives that can have toxic behavior. There are also parents that have toxic behavior, in-laws that are toxic, and if that toxicity filters down
to children,
then there are problems, because they now start needing to find coaching, counselling, marriage help to unwind that stuff from them. So it's this. What I'm saying is there are global wins and global failures that we need to acknowledge, and this is one of these are more reasons for us to, you know, look for peace over that power in terms of the whole relationship thing. Right, let's jump into the comments. Let's see what you guys are saying.
If you guys have any questions, please put it in the comment section. Let's read and talk about those questions as well. Or if you've got any examples as well. If you've got any examples, or if you've experienced any kind of difficulties, or, you know, with your in-laws, let us know. Share it. Let other people be blessed by it. So yeah.
Super duper. Great. So we got sound check. 1 2 1 2.
Start from 8:20.
Just tell me who it is and what they're saying.
Grace, I said powerful one today. Don't forget to share the link. Osa says, "Amen. Everyone share. Hallelujah." Ecosmion says, "Yeah, depending on the relationship, parents can have a big influence during the marriage also. Bearing in mind, these two people are the summation of your spouse in a sense. It's true. Bearing in mind these two people. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So, I think this is key. I think this is a good one, and I think when we talk about just the big influence during their marriage also. And like, I did make a point, in the kitchen, in the bedroom, in the house. It's like in that moment, if there's a strong bedrock between a couple, things are good. However, typically your wife is cooking how her mum taught her.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Your husband is cooking.
On YouTube, so
boy, there's YouTube as well. Or your husband is cooking how his mum or dad taught him. It's like these things are important for us to acknowledge and factor in. So yes, there's a big influence. However, we've spoken before. I think you were making a point last time about how you've got that negative friend who's giving the negative counsel to the friend, and it's affecting the relationship. In parents, in-laws, even brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws can have that same effect. And I think it's super important for us to always remember that. And this is why, like, listen, one of the keys, we didn't really tackle it, we just so much to go through, right? One of the keys is really establishing healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries need to be established. Thank you, Cosmios. Healthy boundaries need to be established for your in-laws. If you don't establish healthy boundaries, you will have unhealthy experiences.
That's right.
And this is super important.
It's an open door for whatever to happen.
Yeah, look, this is super important for us to acknowledge. If we don't establish healthy boundaries, right, what happens is, what Ike just mentioned a moment ago is you're going to get people crossing the line constantly, the line, affecting the house in ways that they shouldn't affect the house. It's like like the husband and wife are negotiating finances, then a father-in-law calls the daughter-in-law and says, you know what, X, Y, Z, and he's now feeding the daughter-in-law with contrary advice to the house.
That's right.
Now, even if he's giving good advice, he needs to present it in a way that she can go and discuss it with her husband.
And it's not like no. No.
And if it's not done in such a manner, this causes problems along the journey. So this is really important. Super great question. I think Ecos Mios continued with, what's that say? That baffles me too when people want to preach on circumstances they're not in or have ever been in or near. You know what? This is part. You want to tackle that?
No, I mean, it just really makes me laugh, But but then again, obviously, some people. Let's just say, that the person, they are a counsellor and they are qualified and they are helping, it's their job to train and teach and but they've never embarked on that journey themselves before. They're qualified to give that advice. However, it's the experience that tends to lack.
So
it's still kind of like, keep your opinions to yourself.
From day dot, I've had this view. It's like, can you give what you do not have?
Yeah, exactly.
And yes, if you're qualified, you've studied, you know what you've got? Theoretical
knowledge.
That you can counsel on, which is great. It's great if you've got that theoretical, untested, unevaluated personal experience. But one thing you have to always remember is that, these counsellors, whoever they are, coaches, they are employed.
Yeah.
So I choose who will mentor me, who will counsel me, who will coach me. And while I'm looking for the right coach, the right counselor, I'm going to evaluate maybe their experience, their resume. I want to know I want to talk to some of the people they've worked with before, etc., etc. So I think it's super important that we need to understand it, because it's true. You got someone who's never, nursed a child, and they're saying to you, make sure you do it like this. But
the women in our village, they hold it like this. Okay.
Listen, come on now. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think we need to be wary. This is where we need to use wisdom. We need to use wisdom. It's super important that we apply wisdom when we're taking counsel.
And there's no point in being arrogant and be like, oh, you don't know nothing. Oh, what have you done? There's nothing wrong with listening to what they're saying. But whether you take it on board or not, that's your choice, and you shouldn't have to be forced to take what they're saying on board.
Like I said, thank you so much. I think the point is they can give you something.
Yeah.
But you choose what to do with it.
That's it.
Good evening, Osa. Osa Kimmer says, in-laws must always support but not create division. Absolutely. Come on now.
I mean, it's nice to say that they should always support and not create division, but some of these people have created division in their own families.
Yeah, no, but listen. That doesn't mean it's right. This is kind of like a benchmark, isn't it? Yeah, so it's like we're saying the focus of an in-law should always be focused on supporting and not creating division, which makes sense. Unity, right?
Home wreckers.
Unity is
Sarah,
a big...
Sarah short version.
Exactly. We don't want that. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't want home wreckers. We want those who are going to support and help develop and build up, right?
Yeah, definitely.
House builders. Kat Johnson in the building. In-laws can be a seesaw. They can bring up or bring you down, depending on how much weight you give them. You see that? And so now
that's good.
So this goes back to thank you, Kat. This
like
really
that.
talks about the boundaries thing.
Yes.
If you set healthy boundaries,
yes.
all right. If you don't set healthy boundaries, it's dramas. But if you set healthy boundaries, it's like they can only address you within the confines of your relationship. It's like, we go back to E-Cosmios. It's like, let's kind of merge this with what E-Cosmios was saying just now. So E-Cosmios was saying, look, some people have had no experience. So a couple could say, we're happy to listen to the contributions of in-laws, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, mother-in-law, father-in-law. However,
grandpa-in-law.
However, our focus is to implement the advice that we have seen bears reasonable fruit. So now, if we even marry this with what we saw also saying just now, what we see right there is so powerful is that if we know that they have united and supported other married couples out of the house, we've seen that their counsel in other relationships has been beneficial, it's been fruitful, we might take that on board. But if we don't, it's like we take some now, we don't take some now, they do whatever they want, they say whatever they want based on how they feel, they've got low emotional intelligence, they're not wise in certain areas, that is majorly problematic. So I think this is super important. Thank you, Kat Johnson. Thank you, everyone, for your comments so far. I see E-Cosmios. She said, yes, acknowledging Kat Johnson. E-Cosmios says, some in-laws aren't ready to cut the cord. So sow seeds pre-marriage, like always have some getaway money or never fully share all your finances just to ensure their child doesn't fully leave them. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean those are things that I feel parents kind of want to sow those seeds to kind of be like, you know, don't invest everything because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
I think those words typically come from people who lacking faith and have had struggles in their relationship. You know, these words, like the scripture. But also, I mean, even in some cases, it's just like they might not have done these things themselves, but they've seen that people who haven't done it, when things have gone pear-shaped, they've been left with nothing. So it's that insecurity thing. You're kind of like, look, you're my child, yeah? I don't want you to end up like Auntie so-and-so. Yeah. She didn't save any money, you know, she didn't have anything. When the husband left, she was left stranded with 5 kids. She had nothing, no savings, nowhere to go, blah, blah, blah. But the person saying it is still married, you know, she's got do you get what I'm saying? Who's the person giving this advice?
Yeah.
No way. No way.
You're joking.
Listen. You give advice. You got to clock this, yeah? Listen. You give advice.
Let me finish. Some people, for them, it's like, okay, they're still married. They've got their money sitting down somewhere, their own little savings, and you know, that's not part of the joint account. Yeah. It's like, for them, it's just like, oh, it's just in case for a rainy day.
I understand.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? So they might still be in happy relationships giving that advice, but it's something that they're thinking, I've seen this happen to this person. This is what I'm doing. I put £10 away every week just in case.
I want to get clear.
So don't enter this relationship thinking that you shouldn't put anything away because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
So did you say they are telling someone to do things that they haven't done?
No, what I'm saying is they might still be happily married, but they've still got this advice going on for themselves.
Yeah, okay. But see, what it appeared to me you were saying just now is they're giving this advice, although it's not what they're implementing for themselves.
No, because I'm saying like this person might not necessarily be a home wrecker. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? As in, this is what they've done in their marriage. Yeah. Because they've seen Auntie so and so get heartbroken and she's been left with nothing. So it's just kind of like, oh, okay.
So they implemented it after the fact.
Yes. Cool, okay. So because a lot of people, it's just like plan B or safety measures, you know, stuff like that. And people do advise. People do give this advice.
Listen, I know this. I've seen this. I've observed this. Like this is not new. And I acknowledge people do say this. My thing is, if someone's not doing this for themselves and they're advising someone else, I think that's kind of evil.
No, they would have to be doing it.
Okay, so what you said earlier on, I think it sounded like you were saying...
No, they would have to be doing that.
Okay, well, okay, cool. But yeah, listen, so you got to take advice from the people that whose marriages you feel that you want to emulate.
But do you really think that's bad advice?
Yeah, always have some getaway money. Never fully share all your finances. Fam, that's not two people joining together. Like
it's not.
That's discord, man.
It is
100%.
It is. But, I feel like sometimes people do not come from a certain place, innit?
I understand.
And people don't have that. So they'll be...
Have that what? Finish that. I heard it. They didn't hear that. They do not have that.
People just don't have that faith in certain relationships. You get what I'm saying? That's why I said they're still married, but in their mind, it's just like, just in case, I don't have that just in case mentality.
Look, the problem is this. But people that walk around with this mentality are ticking time bombs, right? No, it's not even a joke. It's real talk. Like, they are the reason that part of their relationship ain't working. Do you know why? Because inside they are not fully given over. They are not fully invested. There's like, they've got this piggy bank somewhere stashed, like, or what do you call it? A getaway bag stashed, ready to go. And listen, that causes a person never to be fully invested. It's so dangerous. That's a dangerous place to be in.
Yeah, but I still feel like those comments still fall like two ways, because there have been so many women that have ended up like with nothing after their spouse decides to go off with the receptionist or whatever. Do you know what I mean? We
go. Look,
that's a topic for another day.
Look, we could talk about the men that go through that same scenario. Yeah, true. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, yes, the men. It's like,
that's because he was not playing his position.
Look, listen, that one's for another live stream. Yeah, we'll add that to the bottom of the list. Ecosmio says 100% is on the couples. Let them know what they're getting themselves into. Look, these conversations need to be had. We need to have those tough, difficult conversations again and again and again to ensure that we know we're in this for the long haul. Same thing I'm talking about now. If a husband isn't schooling his wife to say, look, when you meet my mum, when you meet my dad, lay down on the floor, prostrate. Exactly. Make sure you dobala well. Like, if you
give
don't
her advance warning,
if you don't structure things, and like, listen, some of us, right? We've been living with our parents for like 20, 30, 40 years.
Some 50.
Fam, it's like you've been living with your parents. It's like, you know what they like. Whether you demonstrate it or not, or you go along with it or not, you know what they like. And it's wrong, if you're bringing someone into the family and you can't train them how to speak, what to say. Listen,
especially if you're from different cultures.
If you truly love your spouse that you want to marry, they should come in as the golden one. Like, the 100%. Gift they bring, the way they talk, the way they show the reverence, respect, if that's the culture.
Yeah, that's if that person feels like they want to submit to in that way. Because they might be like, listen, sorry. Then you listen.
And listen, oh my,
exactly.
Listen,
they're like,
wow.
Look, where we're from, it's equal. Like, me and my mum, like,
we're in power,
we jam. Like, there's none of this hierarchy stuff going on.
Then you are not a part of this family.
So basically, what you're saying is, that if a guy is going to engage a girl, and when he's presenting her to the family, before he presents her to the family, he should say, listen.
Wait. Let me ask you a question first. Didn't you get coaching?
Yeah.
I'm like, fam.
No, but
I'm
still,
just asking because. But still. It was that long ago, innit? It was a long time, innit?
But what I'm saying is, are you saying like the guy should be, look, one thing my mum don't like
100%
dirty dishes. So when we finish eating, get up, take those plates.
Listen,
don't sit. If someone comes and takes your plate, I'm not going to marry you.
Fine.
Do you get what I'm saying? It's like someone will be like, no, but wait, like, is this how it's gonna be?
Yes.
Like, no, but this is what I'm saying. Some people will be like, no.
Yeah, so bye.
Like, because then it kind of down comes across like, wait, am I
a servant?
Subservient,
yes.
Do you get what I mean?
Look, I'm saying where cultures exist,
it's does important. Have to be established.
It's important for the peace. You know, we even heard it earlier on. Just we were talking earlier on. Like, first impressions count. 100%. First impressions matter, and it's like on the first impression, that is the opportunity for if you care about your parents' approval. If you care about
the spouse, if you care about the person that you're about to marry,
do you know what I'm saying? It's like look, we've all had situations with our parents, with our brothers, with our sisters, with our in-laws, with our family. Excuse me. So, if you want your spouse to have those duplicate issues, you want them to start and have those issues from the beginning to end. You've had yours for like 20, 30 years. You want them to start their 20, 30 year exploit today. All right, cool. Let them go in blind. Just, go on. There's my mum. There's David. There's Johnny. There's Jenny. Say hello to everyone. Go ahead. Enter. And let me know how you get on after. Because that's a drama. That's not love, man. That's not love.
Yeah, I definitely do believe that, when two people are coming from the same background, they know how their people behave. They know the expectations. You know, like some relationships run so smoothly because the guy and the girl from the same town, their mum and everybody knows each other, and it's just like, you know, we know how this wedding's supposed to go. We know how it's supposed to look. Family A is in agreement with family B, and it's cool. But you have people who are literally walking into war zones.
Come on.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like war zones.
Said it already. It's like these war zones aren't even just because you're coming. They've been there
they've been
before.
pre-existing war zones.
Some mums today have already established the girl that comes to take my son
will not be ABCD.
You want a yeah girl. I will put her through training to ensure she is the one to take my precious boy.
But I do love when I meet a couple and they're from two different cultures and they've both really embraced each other's culture.
Come on, that's beautiful.
You can just see the way they get on with their in-laws, and you know, and this is the thing. Sometimes I feel like people have such high expectations that when another person's coming to the family, they just expect those expectations should just be met. You know, it's also important for people to understand that you do have to build a relationship with your in-laws as well. So that's like the girl going, oh, I'm going to go and see your mum. Sit down with mum. And this is what I was saying about, because you're not going to observe someone. You're not going to learn someone's character, like you said, if you don't spend time with them. You know, so even just things like going around, spending time with the mum and the sisters and just kind of seeing how they interact. Are they bitchy? Are they not? Do they slander everybody? Do they, you know, when they're watching a film, are they just like, oh my gosh, look at, you know, just little things that you can then go, okay, I see. I can, for yourself, as opposed to being told by your spouse or your spouse to be, you know, you can see these things for yourself. And again, it's all about being true to yourself as well, to be fair.
Yeah, I think some of those things you're finding out, having, by the grace of God, having heard those things already, just like, mine out, this person is like this person's like that. That's what I think. Grace I says, the couple have a lot of responsibility because it's your marriage at the end of the day, and they can decide among themselves how to deal with the situation. Yet, we must remember that parents or anyone, where we at, else for that fact, is it for that matter? For that fact, can continue to cross any boundaries or limits set up by a person or couple. Yeah, it's like, I think the key... just the key point, let me just run off the last bit here. I think in terms of the boundaries, it's like either you respect a couple, you respect a relationship, or you don't. And if you choose to, like, if a person or parent or an in-law chooses to cross those boundaries, I mean disrespectfully, obviously they are both directly and indirectly making their intentions known. It's like if someone says, I remember one of my brothers made a strong commitment just to kind of really change the food that they eat, and just like they're like a lot of things just about the way that they were moving, they were living. So as he done that, he began to like just to kind of, you know, broadcast to us guys like, you know what, this is the situation. He now gave me a chance to either acknowledge or not the boundaries that he set in motion. And it's like that. So if I say, okay, you know what, I don't care what you're saying, I'm going to do this when I see my nephew or whatever, or my niece. So that's to me choosing to cross the boundary. And I'm saying, when I say that, he then has the right to kind of either pick me up, talk to me about it, and if at worst case there's no positive movement on my side, categorize me as, okay, well, he does not care about my wishes for my children. And I think that's a key thing there. It's like when someone's crossing a boundary, we need to look at it like in a broad sense. This is what I said. Let's not look at in-law beef like it's in-law beef. Like these challenges, these communication challenges, relational challenges, emotional challenges are challenges that we endure across life. So it's unfair to kind of say, okay, this is a very special or particular thing. So yes, I agree, absolutely, it's the couple's responsibility to establish those boundaries and uphold those boundaries. The worst thing you can do is set a boundary and then you backpedal for one reason or another because someone went across it. I think that's a drama. You got anything on that?
No. It's great.
What we got? We got
pretending everything is perfect.
Go for it.
Okay. Pretending everything is perfect when it's not is definitely a big mistake and can be borderline deception.
Yeah, and what would you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, that deception will come back and bite you later on, isn't it? So you're better off just being upfront pretty much straight away than pretending to like them, pretending not to like them, or turning a blind eye when you know you should be saying something. So definitely, and it is borderline deception, because if you know you don't really like the attitudes of the in-laws, but you're kind of like laughing with them, you're not correcting them. It's not right. It's not right.
See, this is why I love Jesus. You know why? Because he says, love those. Like, he told you to love your enemies anyway. And he tells you to pray for those who despitefully use you. And this is really key, because our call here on this world is not to like. I heard a minister say this years ago, and he was just like, you know what? Where in the Bible does it say to like somebody? And it's true. It's like, let me not say it's true. The point he was making is, or the point I'm making, based on remembering what he was saying, is that, you know, the Bible calls us to love, and it's very important for us to love. Some people think love and like run synonymous, but they don't. My mum once said to me, you know, it's important to pray for people as opposed to kind of be facing off with people all the time. And it's something a lot of people don't think about. People are like, oh, Sarah said it earlier on in a roundabout kind of way. She's like, yeah, a lot of people try to deal with things naturally. Oh, they buy gifts. They might spend time on the phone or constant conversation. When the reality is, we need to address these things spiritually. And a lot of times it is about prayer. It is about committing it to God. It is about walking in love. And walking in love can come across in many different ways. Let me put it that way. So, yeah, Grace I seems to be on it today. Praise God for endurance. We thank you so much for your comments and your contributions. Ecosmio says, rewarded for that endurance. This society has a me, lock-off mentality. There's no graft. Long gone are the days of long suffering. Yeah, and it says like that. Yeah, I think it's a point. Go on, you want to talk?
No, I mean, I spoke about that, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think it's key. I think it's key for us to just acknowledge that you need to decide which cloth you're cut from.
That's right.
This is super important. Like, are you part of that me society? Are you part of that lock-off mentality? Or are you, like I was saying a moment ago, those who, as Jesus, our master says, you know, walk in love. He calls us to live a life of love, basically, to live a life of devotion to God. Do you know what I'm saying? And servitude to the kingdom. And these things are important. If you find yourself living that way, then there are benefits that you will reap that are not just natural, they're spiritual.
Yeah, and also making sure that you're not going in with all these high expectations of people, and when they don't meet them, you're kind of just like, oh, this is long, like this isn't working kind of thing, because people will be people, and it's not your job to break and then try to mend people. It's your job to, like Zeke said, it's your job to love them. It's your job to pray for them. It's your job to correct them in love, you know, not bash them when they've made mistakes or that, you know, things have kind of gone wrong. Because again, like we said already, you are coming into an environment that's new to you, but it's not new to them. You know, so yeah.
I couldn't say it better. Ecosmio says, yes, pray for your in-laws.
That's right.
Praise up. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's important. It's like, it comes to a point in time where we have to acknowledge it's not about me. And it goes back to that me mentality. That me mentality is I want. Like, I can take it all, but it's also I give. And it's like I'm in control. And it's that little kind of God complex, that little idol where you think that you know what's best, you do what's best, like you've got it all together. When in actuality, really, this life is about us committing to learning from the King, committing to growing and developing in the things of the kingdom, so we can be better husbands, better wives, better in-laws ourselves. This is super important, right? Yeah.
And it's important, you know, like we say about praying for the person that God is going to bring to you. You pray about your in-laws pre-hand also, you know, just begin to pray for them, you know, in which way you feel led to. Yeah, it's not about waiting for a situation to go pear-shaped and go belly up before you get on your knees and start praying sometimes. So, yeah.
We got a great question from Kat Johnson. She says, what do you do if your in-laws are irrational, even if you've tried everything? Sister says, go for it.
Prayer is the key. You know, I mean, what do you do if your in-laws are irrational? If your in-laws are irrational, your spouse is also going to have irrational traits.
I like that.
Right? I mean, Ecosmio said it, and we've said it before. We're a product of our environment. You know, you do get some that just fall out of the bag, uncracked, you know. They just never got hurt by the situation that their family... Well, they separate themselves very early on, you know, so they're so different to their family. But what do? You just have to, like I said, it's not about running off at the first sign of the war zone, you know. It's kind of like you have to find how you're going to strategize this battle, find out how you're going to position yourself, find out, you know, do you take a step back? Do you both take a step back from this kind of irrational behaviour? And also, what's causing this behaviour as well? There's that as well. You know, what is causing them to be so irrational? What are they irrational about? You know, there are so many questions that you have to ask in that situation to then try and find the answers to. You know, because when I think of irrational, I just think of, you know, just like people that just want to constantly like spaz out about things, and you know, anything you say is just no, it just it doesn't work like that.
It's basically just everything that you present that's logical or
it's
sensible.
Just not logical to them.
They just it's like they just don't. They don't hear reason. They don't hear reason.
No, go on.
Yeah, like so. I think the first thing I'd say is like there's see these situations.
Probably better for this one because
you touch it.
So,
like, for me,
just like,
for me, I think there's a lot of internal reflection that needs to be done. So firstly, we need to ensure that we're checking ourselves to make sure that what we're proposing, what we're presenting, the position we're taking is a reasonable one ourselves. Because you know, a lot of the time, what we find is that we're pushing something that maybe doesn't need to be pushed.
Yeah.
This is one of the situations. So really,
narrative.
So really evaluate the position we're coming from. But the second thing is, I'd say lean on your spouse heavily. Lean on your spouse heavily, and just like you have to. I find a lot of things are really resolved through talking. I don't know. I guess it's like maybe I inherited from my parents. Yeah. I think maybe especially more so dad. I'd say I inherited from my parents. I believe talking is. Thank you, Lord. So I think talking. Yeah, I never said that. I never said that. Listen, you don't hear me. I never said that, right? So I think talking is really key. So she's got me all conscious of that saying talking now. So I think talking about the situation, talking through the challenge, talking through the situation with your spouse, and then, if necessary, take external counsel. Like, so if you and your spouse are saying, okay, we're seeing this, right? Take external counsel. Talk to that external counsel. If you've got, you know, like someone that you can go to, you've got a safe zone, you've got an accountability couple, you do that, speak to them. And then at that point, potentially go back to the situation, or maybe really consider if it's worth dropping it. Like, you can't swap out, you can't transplant your in-laws. You've got to remember that. So it's super important for us to understand, like I said earlier on, what are their personality traits? If they're an irrational person and they've been that way all their life, it's like, you're not going to change that. You are not changing them in 2 weeks. Do you know what I'm saying? Or a couple of years of marriage. It's like, it ain't going to happen like that. So what Sarah said is super key. Prayer. Alongside your prayer, you want to take objective steps of faith. So you want to kind of measure things with your spouse, talk to an external couple, and then maybe kind of go back in and test it again. But one thing for me, I'll tell you this. Like, there's one thing that concerns me, right? And this is not just with in-laws, this is with anyone. Like, I don't want to find myself constantly locking myself in a cycle. I think there might be on the channel, we might have this series called Demonic Cycles of Life. I don't know if we published it yet. And it's something I ministered a few years back, and like some people have this situation where every year or every few years they go through the same dramas, the same beefs, the same problems, and it's like they can't break free from that. And it's really important that we do our best to ensure, whether through in-laws, especially not with our spouses or with our children, we're not introducing those kind of cyclical experiences. You know, they can only hold a job down for 6 months or a year at a time. They can't break through a particular threshold in terms of their wage, their earnings. They have these specific relationship issues all the time. We need to ensure that we don't find ourselves in those circumstances or situations, because it can be super problematic. Okay, so that's just a major one, just for us to factor in. I hope that helps. Kat Johnson. We got a couple more here.
Ray said, not him leaving with the receptionist. No. That example is just like, that's like the TV example, isn't it?
Yeah, you see it.
Over here we say the administrator.
You're playing.
Administration officer.
Kat Johnson says, listen, if that's the level of the respect for my husband's household, even me, I'll wash the plate. Turn my face to the side so they can see the emotion. That's powerful.
That's so funny.
But you know what, Kat Johnson, this is what I'll say to you. It's like, it's that type of commitment, that type of devotion that it takes to make it work.
That's right.
And the problem is, in the day and age that we live today, Cosmos mentioned it earlier on, this me, myself and I, a little bit more I. That's what causes problems, because people aren't willing to be humble. And you see it in the lives of people. Some children being raised, they lack humility. People in relationships, they lack humility. You should even see it in government officials. Like, people really lack humility. Pride becomes this big kind of factor in their life, and it's a major problem. So, you know, it's impressive to hear you talk like that, and we're praying for you. Amen. Grace I says,
okay, Grace I says, no, when I said it's borderline deception, I meant a person hiding aspects of their family, from their future spouse, making their family seem perfect when it's not, and the spouse is yes. Okay.
Super. Thanks for that clarity. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, I think that's important. I think that's important to understand. And so there's so many layers. Yes, absolutely. I could agree with that. So it depends. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Absolutely. If they're trying to present something that's not true, sometimes it's just kind of you obscure a thing. They may not talk about a certain thing, and that's typically the way it happens. It's like we all know.
One of those ones. When am I going to meet your mum? Soon. When am I going to meet your mum? Soon.
Do you understand?
When am I going to meet your brothers? Soon.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, even some people do it that way. Yeah. You know, and then it's like, oh, will you marry me? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now, come on, meet them.
Thank you. And
because if you met them you probably say no.
Yeah.
To him. So some people are very cautious about that. They're kind of like, the family's so, like the person, he knows her thus far. So it's probably kind of been like, they could just mess things up.
Yeah.
So when can I meet? Soon. Can I meet? Yeah, soon. And they never kind of really get round to, or they might meet certain family members.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? It's just like, where's you got 3 brothers and you've only met one. Yeah, you meet them soon.
Yeah.
You know, so take the decision for themselves.
Yeah, it's like
it's a tough one still.
Yeah, it's sticky because I've had conversations before where people
outgrow their families, you know.
People are like that's probably for another stream. People are like some people embellish things, and they may be like, oh yeah, do you know what? Every time I talk to him or every time I talk to her, they respond this way. So they make some of their family members seem worse than they are. So it's like you could really go in so many different ways with this.
It's true.
But it's just important, I think, to ask the questions and to get the insight. But the reality is, we've said this before, when people are dating, everyone wants to put their best foot forward. Best foot forward. This is how I look. Cheese. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's what they want you to see. And people do it with interviews. They do it all the time. I think we spoke about this last episode as well. So
yeah, I would rather someone just said, listen,
this person's crazy.
Me and my brothers ain't spoke for this long. I chat with this brother. You ain't gonna meet this one because it's not fruitful.
Yes.
Mum, you know, left home when I was 17. Didn't really chill, kind of, you know, don't really vibe with them much anymore. However, if you really want to meet my fine. However, but me and my mum, listen, don't be surprised if I'm only there for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if it kicks off. Pre-warning, so that the person is going into it with the knowledge that, okay, if anything, it's not a shock to the system. If the fiance and the mum kick it off, she could probably, because of the pre-warning, it could be like, hun, calm down. Like, you're exaggerating. Like, you don't need to, some kind of help. But if it's just, yeah, we're great, coming, and then it kind of, it's just, you know, so honesty is the best policy.
Come on, man.
And again, that's why we said you have to ask questions. You have to ask questions. Why did you leave home at 17? What happened? You know what I mean? If they even get that far.
That's real talk.
Yeah, man. That's what we call real talk.
Hard talk.
Yes, hard talk. That's the one.
Who is that? Ecosmos is laughing with Cat Johnson. Ecosmos says, what do you do if you love your spouse but their family has lofty and unrealistic cultural expectations for your wedding and marriage going forward? And it's at the point now where it's jeopardizing the relationship as a whole. All right, so this is a great one. And you know,
yes, this is a heart searching. Yeah. Whether you're ready for this marital journey or not, question.
I think this is a reason that reason I say this is a good one, because this is a common situation that we see all over the shop. This is a regularity, and I think what we need to establish here is the first port of call. And I think with most deep marital challenges, you need to go back to your the book. Like, why did we? What's the purpose? Exactly. What's the purpose of this journey?
Yeah.
And I think from that port of call, it's like,
do you put the first bit?
Yeah. Who's paying for this? Who's paying for the marriage? Who's investing into this? The decisions ultimately and finally belong to the new husband and wife. It's their decisions finally. So I think if the spouse's family has got all of these kind of dreams, for me, again, like I said about talking, I'd have to first talk with my spouse and say to her, or spouse to be, and say, look, you know what? This is the situation. You can see this, and I don't know what is it. Is it just that we don't want to do it? Is it just that it's a fiscal issue? What is it? I'd sit down and say, look, you know what?
Hurting your finances?
Yeah, that's what I said. Fiscal. That's for money. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So is it like? Sorry. So is it
physical?
No. Is it a money issue? Is it an emotional issue? Is it just we don't want it that way? We discuss it first. Then after those internal discussions, this is what's so key. You must come to a common agreement between the two of you. And then this is like, just before you get married, right? Then the two of you go into a family meeting, sit down with the family and begin to discuss those unrealistic cultural expectations. Yeah. Because ultimately it's that husband and that wife that are initiating their own home. And it's so important to understand what you're building, what you're establishing that home on top of.
That's right.
What are you building your home on? Because if your family is saying to you, look, this is what we want in our culture, this is how we do it, this is what we expect, this is what should be done, go and kill a goat, and we want it in the middle of Bank Station, we want it to be, listen, you have to explain to them that based on the standards that we're setting, the decisions that we're making. And you know what? This is a show of the maturity that it takes to stand up and have your own relationship. And you have to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared for the fact that, the family may not take it well. They may not, and you have to be prepared for that. But the question is, are you guys willing to go forward? And I'd probably, my one caveat before that family meeting would probably be to go and seek counsel from somebody
who knows,
within the culture, and an elderly who you have favor with, and express your view to them and see what they're gonna feel, and see there may be some alternative. Can we do this instead, or this or that? Maybe that would be my one caveat. But the core thing is for the couple to have a discussion, come to an agreement, and then go forward in one accord. So important. And I was just
gonna say on this point, I feel like this is one of those situations that, yes, it does make or break, because even in this comment and it's affecting the relationship as a whole. If the marriage is starting off like this, and they enter it, what's the rest of the journey going to look like?
Come on.
Yeah? What is the rest of the journey going to look like? And so my thing is, when you find yourself in this position, this is where the real decision-making journey begins. This is where the putting the foot down journey begins.
Come on.
This is when it's like, listen, I'm marrying her, and she's marrying him. It's about us. It's not about you guys. You understand? And this is where people really have to make the decision of, are we in this or are we in this? You understand? This is
the expression of those healthy boundaries.
100%. And it's one of those things where you might lose friends over this. You might lose relatives over this. But then if you're losing those relatives over this, then maybe you're only going to lose them further down the line anyway.
Listen. It's marriage is for the mature
100%
at heart. This is 100%. Not for the immature. And I know how the TV presents it. I know what we see out there online. And I know a lot of these people you're seeing in the papers, they're going through people. They're going through different marriages. They're divorcing. This is not our desire for you guys, for ourselves. This is why we're putting this out. This is why we have these videos on this playlist, in this channel, so that we establish these realities now.
Yeah.
We want to be prepared before we get into marriage. We want to be prepared in our marriages for what can come and what may come down the road.
And you don't want to lose the person you love and the person that is for you over cultural
differences.
Cultural expectations, because they might have the same culture, but over the expectations of what's not gonna happen and what's going to happen. So people really have to know each other and build that strength, and this where people have to man up, woman up, all the ups on this one. So
Sit up.
Okay, we have a Donna Phillips.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have enjoyed the stream today, and you will be back.
And Ecosmos says, hey Donna Phillips.
Yes, right. Well, we did say this was going to be a juicy one, and it has been. We've really, I've enjoyed this stream.
Yeah, always. I enjoy spending time with you guys.
Always look forward to it. Again, if you've learned something, from this, or if there's anything that you think, you'll be able to share with someone who is in this particular situation who's really going through challenges with their in-laws, share this video with them, and yeah, just be a blessing. Really, that's what we're here just trying to cultivate and help marriages get to a better place, and you have to be real with this life. You have to keep it real. You have to be real with your marriage. You have to understand that people will come, people will go, but both of you should still be there.
Come on.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Even children come and they go. So other people, there should be an expectations that others are gonna come and go. More or less, the ones that you're actually birthing, one day they will also go. So yeah, it's important to just have that understanding, of what marriage really is and what it's about and who it's not for.
Gotta be mature, baby.
Who it's not for.
Got to be mature.
Because if you're, focusing on milk, then someone will take away the bottle.
I'm Zeke.
And I'm Sarah.
We've been here